News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth with darkoakmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. And a friendly reminder as we close out this month, we got one more show after before the end of the month. We want to still wish you a very happy International Ideas Month. And please, listeners, send us your best ideas or your worst ideas that you've had in the realm of home improvement.
Okay. You know, I have a horrible idea, and it's not an idea. It's something I actually did, Allan, and I may do that on the air just to grease the skids again today. So,
I mean, we got a leftover text with regards to a good idea, so we'll get to that in a sec, too.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We'll hit the text line because we did, I think it was later in the show last week, Danny chimed in about his squirrel battle, which ironically ties in exactly with what I was up against. So, all right, well, Allan, here we go. Let's see. I've got the list here today, and it's sort of like one of these roulette games. You know how, you spin the wheel, and it's like, what are we actually going to get to today? All right, well, I'm sure one of the things we'll get to is your week in review, which, once again, I got to say, Allan is on a roll, man. He has been very productive. There's no 3 a.m. emergency calls. I have a exploding sewer pipe. No. You're just building things and enjoying life.
Just going forward.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that you said that one of your clients asked you or told you was, I think there's a pig in my tree.
Yes.
Yeah. So none of those calls this week at all. So that's great. So in our continuing series of the history of great building materials, we are never one to overlook the obvious. Today we're going to talk about wood. Well, I mean, that's a pretty vast subject. Actually, we could make this wood talk radio if we wanted to. I mean, how
dude, that is a subject the size of about a month's worth of shows.
Yeah.
So,
but you know, maybe a big celebration of wood, because there are chemical properties and there are structural properties that go into wood. Not all species of wood. There's any number, and they all serve a purpose, and that makes them ideally suited for building things. So what the heck? I hope we get to this, Max. From the mind of Max, you were asking me a question about pests. I don't know if I fully understand, but
well, let's just leave it at that.
I thought it was something along the lines of, can we partner with the pests instead of wiping them out? He has ideas of, I don't know, like the Pied Piper or something.
I'm interested in where that's going.
I have questions. I don't have answers for you.
Okay, whatever. All right, so we'll see. We also have this. I don't know what this goes under, Allan, but I was in conversation with my wife, and she was talking about a friend of hers that they just bought a house that had been empty. Oh, my gosh, this house must have been empty for almost a year. And there are all sorts of problems now that are manifesting themselves.
Yes.
And I thought it'd be a good idea. Let's talk about sort of the issues of what happens when you have an empty house, or maybe you have a house on the market that's empty, and what sort of things you should think about when you're just, you're not there to watch it, you're not living in it. What sort of things can happen in an empty house? I think that's an important conversation. I don't know that I want to tease much more, although I hope we get to I have a design flaws that I've been wanting to get to for the last 3 weeks, and we haven't got to it, but life intervenes. So, all right, well, before we get to any of those interesting topics, let's get to our must-have item of the week, which I posted on the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page, and we invite you to go over there and check out the post. I have another post to make shortly during the commercial, but okay, Allan. So what am I holding up here?
You are holding up the infamous portable tape and dispenser.
Here, let's see if there we go.
There's a sound.
That is a sound. When you're in a pinch, I've got a roll of packing tape, and people are saying, well, whoop-de-doo. You know what?
My gosh, they can save your life.
Well, for one thing, during the convention, this stuff, I go through about 5 rolls of this stuff.
Easy.
But Allan, this, I don't know about you, but the properties of packing tape are different than any other tape I use.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, for example, duct tape. If you use duct tape, if you put duct tape on something that you plan to be temporary, and you're going to come back 2 weeks later and take it off, you know what that's like.
It ain't coming off.
No. Well,
it's bringing stuff with it.
Yeah.
It's keeping samples.
Or if it's outside, it leaves that gummy, sort of residue that it never comes off. And if you try to sand it, that doesn't work. If you take it's just no good.
It's awful.
You know.
Yeah.
But this is that extra set of hands sometimes you need. I don't know about you. I've taken packing tape and taped some boards together, drilled some holes through them so that they line up perfectly, or use it in place of a clamp.
Yep, done that.
Yeah.
Done that. I've even made wall patches out of them.
Oh, wait a minute. So, I think I know your technique. Go ahead.
Well, my affinity
forgot
for
about
chopsticks.
that. Yeah.
So, I got a hole just big enough that I know my mud is going to sag.
Yep.
It's not big enough that I need to go cut out a segment and put in a whole new piece of sheetrock.
Right.
But it's just big enough. I know the mud is not going to be, going to be a stand-up guy and stay where I told him. So, I have been known to take build myself a little platform of packing tape, grab it in the center with my chopsticks, poke it through the hole, pull it back to the wall.
Yeah.
And it sticks just enough to give me something to let the mud stay against until it's nice and dry.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, you just reminded me. Now, I can't take credit for this because I stole this off of YouTube, but I was watching a YouTube video.
Right.
And when you get those holes, like those weird shaped holes, and it's shaped like the state of Australia or something like that. And you're like, well, I want to try to match the size of this hole.
Right.
Cut out a piece of sheetrock and put it in there. Well, what this person did is they took some packing tape and they gently put it over the hole. They put like 6 strips of it.
Right.
And then they traced the outline of the hole with a magic marker. Then they took it off and then they laid it on a piece of sheetrock and cut it.
There was your template.
It was your template, exactly. So, also, packing tape works great in a pinch when you have that one little draft. You have the 2 windows that are butting together, and there's that draft coming in the winter. You just slap some packing tape, and when you take it off 5 months later, it actually doesn't really leave much of a residue.
Actually kind of comes on off.
Yeah.
So. That's actually something I was kind of curious about, both residue and its adhesive power. I was actually wondering how long, if in theory you left packing tape on a surface, how long it would be able to stick.
It kind of depends if it's inside or outside. Don't put it outside. It'll crumble, it'll dry out, and then it'll never come off.
It's going to oxidize.
Yeah.
It's going to oxidize. The other thing about packing tape is it's also heat sensitive.
Yeah.
So you can.
It doesn't like the heat.
It doesn't like a heat gun. It'll pop right off.
Yeah.
No problem.
While we're on the discussion of tapes, are there actually tapes that do really well and actually you might call it cure in the presence of heat and time?
Huh.
Now
that's a good question, Max.
That, good sir, is its cousin, the moisture-activated packing tape.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
It's the old school packing tape that you had to get wet.
I don't know that
and
I've
to
ever used
activate
that,
the
man.
glue.
Huh.
Well, you've probably never used it. You've never really been in the logistics side of things. But if you need to actually securely seal a box,
yeah,
I mean, it's not coming open. There is a paper tape it's got plastic fiber reinforcement, but it is a moisture activated tape, and it actually bonds and seals to whatever you wrap it around.
Oh, like an envelope. You lick the envelope and it's got
the old school, old school technology. And let me tell you, that stuff, it'll never come off. Whatever you strap it to, by the time it cures, you're done.
Because I'm thinking of like Legacy Thinking or 30 Years is Stupid, where someone used that type of tape to, let's just say, patch a wall or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, that's not a 30 Years of Stupid. That was almost a 30 Years of Genius because it actually worked.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think so there you go, packing tape, and it's not rocket science. Anybody can figure out where to go. Just go to the tape aisle and keep a couple rolls in your house.
Stuff.
All right, let's shift gears, Max. We have a follow-up from last week.
Yeah, we got Danny on the text line. Said, good morning, guys. Update on my ongoing war with the squirrels. Instead of cutting in new soffit, I simply laminated a section of hardy board over the affected areas. Let's see if my little friends like cement.
Now, for those who didn't know, Danny chimed in about 6 weeks ago because he had some giant holes. These weren't subtle. These were like 6 inches across of right on the bottom of the soffit. And I mean, that's probably what I would have done, Alan.
And
Well,
this man
just
has a
put it-
vendetta with squirrels going back ages.
Oh, I feel your pain. But Danny, they're going to just try another entrance. I hate to say it.
Yeah,
they're going to go
they'll
under
try
the
the
shingles
edge.
now.
They'll try
Yeah.
the edge. However, I will compliment him on something that he's discovered. Hardy board as a soffit is a shockingly good material because it doesn't expand and contract.
Right. Well, I suppose they could chew through it, but I don't think they'd want to.
Wow, that
You're
would.
getting a mouthful
I'm
of
just
concrete
saying that
dust
would
and-
be some serious motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a great choice of materials to do that with.
Yeah, because it's the underneath part, and I don't know. Yeah, but I do think. I've been through this battle myself. In fact, I may weigh in on it later. But yeah, I don't know. The
So we'll
squirrels are relentless. They'll try another attack.
We'll
so.
include him on the ideas list, and please, listeners, if you want to beat Danny, come in with your good or bad ideas.
Absolutely. All right, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Now, maybe you don't have any tumors. Well, don't worry. If you sat on a folding chair in the lobby and weren't wearing lead underpants, we took care of that too.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Is that why we don't have any guests today?
I don't know, man. OSHA is they're hardcore. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. Brought to you by our good friends over at Groundworks. We'll be talking about them shortly, Alan. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And we want to invite you to go to Facebook and go to @Tool Talk Radio and check out the one exciting post I made there. Well, you don't just check that out. There's lots of good posts up there. I mean,
absolutely.
scroll down, you'll see all of our past shows linked up there. It's if you're gonna binge, just click that and it'll take you to years of content, which is a good thing. So.
Yeah, well, we are featured on Spotify and YouTube. And just to be honest, there's literally years of content waiting on you.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, this is National or International Ideas Month, the month of March, and we've had some good ones, and we're actually keeping score. Max, you said who is in for? Are you putting Danny at the top of the list now?
So far, we got Danny and Agent 732.
Okay. We want your best ideas and your worst ideas, and actually, Danny provided photo evidence, so I feel like that gives him an edge. And as of now, we agree it was a pretty good idea.
Excellent solution.
But we're also accepting bad ideas. And with that in mind, I guess this is another one of these on-air confessions.
I've called you all here because I need some honest answers.
Yeah, they all kind of broke. So, when do I start?
There is a basket of oil-soaked rags above a wood-burning stove.
Are you out of your mind? You put a jet engine on a lawnmower?
This time, they are going to be held accountable. This time, they are the ones who will pay.
Hicks just loves this stuff. Okay, anyway, the jet engine on a lawnmower, I think qualifies as a good idea myself. But so here we go, Alan. Danny was chiming in today about his squirrel battle. I think he had a really good idea. He basically had squirrels coming in through the soffit. It was obvious. I mean, there were giant holes that he could watch them coming in, and he patched it up. Well, as you know, before I met Jay Hill, which is one of the reasons I love that man. He took care of my problem. I had a serious squirrel issue. I had them coming into multiple parts of my attic. Because I have an attic above the garage. I have a very small attic space above the rest of my home, and man, they were breaching it. Well, you came to my house.
Oh, yeah.
You told me.
I showed you highways you didn't even know you had.
Well, that's the thing. One of the reasons, it's good to get an expert if you have squirrel issues, folks, is because they see they think like the mind of a squirrel, So you were showing me like these areas that I thought were pretty secure, and it's like no. And what the problem I had was basically they figured out a way to push the shingles up. And chew into the roof of my house and climb through, basically.
Yes.
And they did that everywhere. And it looked, and so I was really getting fed up. And I was tired because you'd hear them in the walls and everything.
You mean your wife would hear him in the walls?
And my wife was not digging this either. And I mean, we didn't want squirrels getting in our house and getting in the wall.
You weren't getting back to nature?
And every day I come home and I get the latest squirrel, sighting or the squirrel report. And so one Sunday afternoon, I got up there with my roofing nails, and I said I had these 2-inch roofing nails. Now, I'm not that dumb, Alan. I'm not going to drive these in the middle of it, but I went around to the vulnerable spots, and I nailed the roofing shingles down right on top of the shingle itself, so that they couldn't possibly push it up. I mean, as far as I could see. And then I thought, well, maybe they could get into this area too, and then maybe they could get in over there. By the end of it, literally around my entire house, it looked like you ever see those I don't know, women's purses that have like the metal studs, like the decorative thing, or like a Fonzie's jacket, or somebody with the
you put in some rhinestones is what you're saying. Yeah.
And my wife came home and she saw, like, glistening in the sun, this whole border of roofing nails in the house, and she didn't like it at all.
No, I can't imagine.
So what I said, well, I'll go around and I'll cover them with roofing tar.
Oh, that's even better.
Compounding the sin. So now instead it looked dirty. It looked
that just looked bad.
But Alan, they still got in.
They did.
How is that even possible?
They have nothing else better to do.
My question is when are they just going to throw it? At what point do they throw in the towel? Like, will they throw in the towel with Danny's Hardy board?
Well, Alan,
all right,
Max.
No. All right, let's. All right.
Put yourself in the mind of the squirrel. If this was your house in your mind and somebody came and bolted the door shut, you'd just find another way in, wouldn't you? I mean,
all right. Well, let me take a stab at of flying rats, aka pigeons.
Oh, now Max likes pigeons.
Well, I like pigeons too. They're really good with the cream sauce. Now, a number of buildings for years began putting up little spiky strips. So that the pigeons couldn't land.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that lasted about 6 weeks. Because then the pigeons discovered that they could go pick up nesting material and other debris, like pieces of newspaper or plastic wrappers or beer can tops or whatever, and go fly up and just drop it on the spiky thing, and it would hold it for them and build a beautiful nest. So never underestimate what nature is going to do with what you want to do. So in the event of a squirrel getting into your house, all right, you built the perfect cave.
What do you mean?
It's dry. It's safe.
For their program.
It's wonderful. All I got to do is get in it.
Plenty of free food.
Yeah.
Well, it's not so much the free food. You already grew that in the front yard. Because to pick on Joe's house, we have 3 pecan trees.
There you go. And an oak tree with acorns.
You are basically countrywide buffet.
Yeah.
For things that like to eat nuts. So they got nothing else better to do, and here is this big, beautiful wooden cave. And you know what? We can chew a hole through a tree. We can chew a hole through that 2x4.
Well, do they mark their turf? Because
they do.
I feel like some houses get marked. Once they're in, they're like, okay, this is a destination spot.
A friend of mine bought more or less an abandoned house years ago, and there was one little hole on the face of the building about the size of, I don't know, a baseball.
Yeah.
Squirrel highway. Because the squirrels had been living in the upper reaches of this house now for 2 or 3 years. And there wasn't just a condo, there was a whole apartment community.
Do they like being together? That's another question.
Well, they make family groups.
Okay.
And so long as there's food, and there were plenty of oak trees around, and now there's a nice safe place to hide from the owls and hawks and skunks and coyotes. And they had a great life up there. And we put an excluder on this hole. And an excluder means they can go out, but they can't get back in.
Oh,
so we had a little wire excluder, and we put up a little camera, and we counted the number of displaced squirrels over the next 2 days. And it was in excess of 40.
Oh, my gosh.
And
what were they doing? Congregating?
Well, now they're all gathered on the face of the building trying to figure out how to get around the excluder.
I'm just thinking of that movie World War Z with all the zombies gnawing at the wall.
It's pretty close to what it looked like. There was Joe, you and I used to broadcast from a commercial building that had squirrels in the windows.
Oh yeah, they got through there. I remember that.
So we were what?
On the air going, okay, hold on.
5 stories up, and a squirrel would go walking between the commercial panes of the window from one side to the other.
See, that's what I wondered. Do squirrels do they have like sort of a macho attitude of showing off? Like, I got in your house, and what are you going to do about it, buddy? Or something?
I think a squirrel is attitude with fur.
That's what I think. They really taunt you. They're in your face. They
don't care.
No.
But that's the biggest thing. They don't care what we do. They really do not. They do not lose an ounce of sleep wondering what the humans are up to.
No. But I will say, folks, and then Jay, so, that futile attempt not only made the roof look ugly, it just,
it didn't help.
Now I had an angry wife. I had all this. Jay Hill came along. We got a nice new Big M roof, and he put the proper edging on there.
The proper flashing, the proper everything.
And knock on wood, we haven't had squirrels ever since. That's been 3 or 4 years, and so, they know what they're doing.
Well, he also got rid of the scent on your roof.
Oh, I didn't think
because of that. Everything came off.
Yep.
And everything new came back on. So all of the scent trails and all of the basic signs that says move in over here.
Yeah.
We're gone.
Okay. Well, if you're in combat with squirrels, give Jay a call at 901-484-5645. We'll be talking about Jay later on too. All right. Well, so far so good. Let's see. We've got, when we come back, we're going to talk about the issues of an empty house.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Hey, neighbor! Is that a wood shingle roof you got there? Let me show you something.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I don't know what I just heard. And we'll come back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody.
I just know that Jay Hill would probably not approve of wood shingles.
No, I don't think so. Brought to you by our good friends over at Groundworks and Big M Roofing and Remodeling. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, well, a theme is emerging in the battle, the never-ending battle against squirrels. I know they serve a purpose in nature. I'm not totally sure what it is, but I know they do.
Bobcats seem to like them.
We just don't want them in our house. And we're
no.
talking about ways to keep them out. So, but we're going to shift gears. This came up in a conversation with my wife, Allan, and I thought it was a perfect thing to roundtable here on the show. She has a friend that I guess they just bought a house, and I want to say this house was empty for close to a year.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, I think the people didn't even they might have lived out of state. And they, we've talked about this. Obviously, these people don't listen to the show. I don't even think they had the heat or the air conditioning. I don't think they turned the lights on. This thing was empty. And I got a list of things that went wrong with it. But
yes.
Why don't we talk about that? Because a lot of people find themselves in that situation where they either are buying a house that has been empty for a long time, or maybe, they own a house and it's going to be empty and they want to, do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what's going on in an empty house, especially here in the Mid-South?
Well, let's pick on the Mid-South because we routinely operate at about 70% humidity.
Yep.
Anytime you walk outside in the Mid-South, you can pretty much bank that it is going to be more humid outside than it is in your house.
Yeah.
Being from West Texas, occasionally that's the opposite of living in Memphis. No, it's there's a lot of water out there. And that is generally the problem of modern building. And you and I have said this a million times, and I'm going to say it one more time. Your house moves.
Mm-hmm.
Your house breathes. Your house absorbs the temperatures and the humidity levels around it. Your roof is designed to shed water. Really, honestly, that is it'll serve other purposes, but its basic functionality is let's keep the rain off of you.
Yeah.
Our buddy at Groundworks will tell you that your foundation is there to keep the soil from moving enough that your house falls down, and it stops the moisture from coming up.
Right.
The minute you bypass both of these systems, humidity.
Yeah.
And, our modern homes are just not designed to be humidity proof because they're made out of drywall.
You can't fight it. You got to work with it. Yeah, so
it's that simple. Your house is fundamentally, now this is a great improvement over the thousands of years of bad ideas that we've lived in.
Mm-hmm.
Drywall is amazing. It's stable. It doesn't burn. It's not contaminating you. It's not falling apart. It's not infested with termites. Welcome to all the advantages. The disadvantage is it absorbs moisture.
Right.
And because of that, it breathes. I have a little job I went and did last weekend where I went and put a sheet of plywood up in a closet because the closet organizer, which had the cute little hangers that went into the wall, went into the drywall, just popped out.
Yeah.
And then you start questioning, well, how long has this been up? Well, like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. You got a lot of clothes and 20 years of weight hanging, and poor little drywall is just not designed to handle that kind of weight. The other thing is, neither is anything else in our house. The wall sockets and that kind of stuff are not designed for moist environments.
No. Well, I got a question because we do know about that. So in other words, keep the airflow. You want to at least keep the power on and keep. You can set the air conditioner, like, if it's the summer, you don't have to have it at 65 degrees. Set it up there. But at least it's taking the humidity out. And then in the winter, keep the heat on. But here's a tricky one. Let me ask you this, because here in the Mid-South, we're always dealing with burst pipes because we don't really have not too many houses have basements and things like that. So in the winter, I know at our house we have to drip the faucet if it gets below freezing. Well, let's imagine this. What if you have an empty house in the middle of winter? The immediate idea is, well, hey, cut the water off at the street.
Exactly.
Drain the pipes. But I do have a question. What if those pipes are empty for months at a time? Now what issues do we have? I guess, you know what I mean? Like, don't we at some point have to flush them out? And
exactly.
So what's happening inside those pipes if we do just cut them off?
I have a perfect example of a friend of mine had purchased a old building, been empty for a couple of years, came in and told me he turned on the water and he had no water.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
And I went, well, go to the bathtub. Turn the water on in the tub, not the sink, in the tub. And he turned it on, and then I heard the words, oh, gross.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Just sludgy water came blowing out of this thing. And after a moment or two, clean water came out. But then he goes, well, why do none of my faucets work? And I said, well, congratulations. You're about to go buy aerators.
Oh, boy.
They're little 98-cent parts. They're in the plumbing department of every big box store on the planet. And you're going to have to replace them because they're full of rust and sludge and sand, because that's what happened when you turned the water back on and you went to that sink and opened that valve. All of the junk that had been settled in the pipes now is stuck in the back of your aerator.
Yeah.
So if I'm hearing you all correctly, you basically have to have a babysitter for vacant properties.
You should. I mean, honestly, I think you do. You make arrangements with somebody to come in there. At least
you should.
Flush the toilets, move the water.
Well, I'm an advocate of don't have water. I am an advocate of turn off the water. However, if you're the person waking the house up, you need to go remove the aerators from all the faucets.
We should say we're talking about the little screen, and
that
usually you can
bitty
unscrew
part,
it.
There's just the little thing will unscrew from your faucet.
Now, not all faucets have that anymore. So you have to. Usually you can unscrew the tip and flush it out and clean it out. And,
not if you cram it full of waste.
Or
if the little screen gets packed in full, you've got no other choice but to go buy a new aerator.
Right.
Happily, they're very, very inexpensive. But when you're opening a building, so let's say you have a lake house.
Mhm.
We have a lot of people in the Mid-South have a second little vacation spot. Well, you got to wake the house up a certain way.
Yeah.
So this is why people have the sheets and they cover the furniture. It keeps the dust and stuff off of it. But it also provides a layer that keeps air from moving around it.
Good
So,
point.
and it's a sheet, so it's also absorptive. So it helps minimize the moisture. So when you close a house down, you really do need to close it down. Make sure the windows are good and tight. Make sure everything's closed. Turn off the water. And if you're going, I really am not an advocate of turning off the electricity because I'm a huge advocate of having a dehumidifier sitting in a tub.
Oh, now wait a minute. Interesting.
Ooh.
I haven't done that maneuver. What is
You
that?
know, let me give you
Is
a
that in
plot
case it
twist.
overflows?
I'm not going to have it overflow. I'm just going to have it drain into the tub.
Or you just leave it open and let it
I'm just going to let
in?
it drain in the tub and leave the building.
Okay.
But that way I can keep the inside of my house at least somewhat moisture controlled.
Okay. Interesting.
And that
I
way,
just would not turn the electricity off.
I am
Don't be
I
a
am not
cheapskate. Leave at least a couple lights,
I'm not an advocate of totally abandoning the building because again, moisture is going to be your enemy.
Right.
And if you don't have air conditioning on, you don't want to pay that bill, then you're going to have, well, let's pick today. Today was almost upper 30s last night, and we'll probably hit 70 today.
Yeah, we got a
So
40-degree swing. Yeah.
30, 35-degree swing in a single day. That's a lot.
So the other thing that happened, that's the horrifying thing. I mean, talk about burying the lead. So they got up to the attic.
Of course.
And this looked like a monster movie. She said there had to be 200 roof rats in there. And they scattered of course they scattered, but some of them scattered into the house. It was
looked like a scene from Ratatouille.
And what is going on in there? You've got months and months, maybe a year of an infestation. I mean, at that point, I'd want to. I sure wouldn't want to live there, but they bought the house, so what?
There's a lot of cleaning to do at this point.
Would you just rip the sheetrock out of
probably
the ceiling and everything?
Probably.
But once again, you're in the position of first of all,
you're in a hazmat
them.
situation.
This is a hazmat.
Yeah,
and you better get a serious
and you need a breather,
company.
and you need, if you're going to try to do it yourself, congratulations, you better learn up on how to do a hazmat cleanup.
Well, what do you do? I mean,
well, one is definitely you want to protect your eyes, and you want a breather. You do not want to breathe this stuff.
I'm talking about confronting 200 roof rats in your attic. It's like,
all right, that's not
talk about the zombie apocalypse.
Well, that's
Max.
not
It's
that
like,
bad because you leave some lights on, you play a little loud music, and they
Drive
get the
them out.
idea that you're moving back in.
Okay.
Isn't that like what they do with hostage situations? Is just play the loud music?
On occasion.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing right now.
All right, yeah. Well, we have a few more parting thoughts, and then on a positive note, we're going to find out what Allan did this week.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Good news, everyone! I'm in terrible pain.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Okay. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And I hope we haven't ruined anybody's breakfast. We're threading the needle here because we're talking about rat infestations.
200 roof rats? Yeah, that's
hazmat
advertising.
situations in your attic and things like that. And we'll continue that. We had some parting thoughts about basically the conversation was what sort of issues can happen when you leave a house empty for extended periods of time. I did have one more thing I want to mention about that in addition to our roof rat, wrap up. But before we get to any of that, we want to talk about our good friends over at Groundworks. They are, you talk about fundamental services that they provide. They are all about the protection of the foundation of your home, the basement of your home, the subfloors, everything, crawl spaces, everything to do with keeping the base of your home healthy and functioning and everything. The thing that's interesting about foundation issues when it comes to the home is it's unexpected if you're sort of a new homeowner. The symptoms of a bad foundation aren't real obvious. You know what I mean? It's like
Not always.
these stair step cracks that you see up a chimney or along a brick wall, or an odd crack above a door, or a weird smell, or those ants that congregate in this one area of the wall outside or something. Those can all, or the more obvious ones, sagging floors, or you have a weird creak when you walk across the floor. Well, you can't ignore any of those problems. Those problems all have to be addressed, and there's nobody better than the good folks over at Groundworks. And the nice thing is, for one thing, this is what they do. This is a national company, and they have all the expertise to solve the problem. The consultation is free. And also, you can't ignore a foundation issue, but they're not always that scary. Sometimes a foundation issue is simply a matter of maintenance and correcting a problem, and so it's not the nuclear option every time, but it can be if you don't address it.
Don't let it go too long.
So get in touch with the good folks over at Groundworks. You can go to groundworks.com and book your free inspection today. Okay, well, Allan, before the break, we were talking about a home. This is a friend of my wife's. They bought a home. And like we said, this had to be empty for a good, probably close to a year. The most horrifying thing was they went in the attic, and it was, like I said, it was nightmare fuel. They said there had to be 200 roof rats up there. I don't know what happened. Maybe they ran to a corner. Maybe they fled in terror. Her friend. I don't know, but it has to be addressed.
Yeah.
So
that's where a good professional exterminator kicks in.
Yes.
But a nice thing is, light is the enemy of anything that wants to live in your attic.
That's surprising to me. So you're saying light and obnoxious music?
Light and sound. Well, it's occupation. All right, now it is spring. So here comes the caveat. Everything outside is looking for a house.
Well, why not? Why?
Everybody's looking
to get
for
out
a
and
nest.
get some fresh air.
No, everybody's looking for a nest.
Okay.
They're looking to have babies.
Oh,
They want babies in a nice, quiet, dark, safe place away from the other critters, which is why we wind up with stuff moving into our house. And if you don't live there, if there's no sound or anything going on, again, we have built the perfect wooden cave.
Right, yeah.
The minute you move in, and light and sound. Now, there are critters that will live with you: rats, mice, squirrels, raccoons. They'll try to live in their area. You'll live in yours. Doesn't work out that way. But the more that there is light and activity, the less likely there is to be critters.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would do before the professional exterminators could get there was I would make sure that there was some light on in that attic. So now it's not the nice, quiet, peaceful place it was before.
Well, you said also it's not, I mean, it might sound silly, but blasting some music. Now,
getting some activity, getting some sound going. Right.
What musical genre do you recommend? Like, I'm just trying to picture the most obnoxious thing to a rat.
What'll get them working out and moaning to stay.
I find, all right, I'm not going to play easy listening.
Allan's already got his own playlist.
I do. I've done this for years.
I'd like to see Allan's Spotify.
Yeah. Rat extermination music.
I find anything that has the beat of living in it. So nothing soft and sedate. I'm not looking for Moonlight Sonata. I'm looking for something with a beat.
You're looking for Seek and Destroy by Metallica.
So you get
that'll work.
Put on Megadeth.
That'll work.
Okay. So you want something with a driving bass line, like
and it doesn't have to be fast music, but if you've got a good military tattoo or something you can play, bump it a bump it a bump it a bump it a bump. Anything
somehow
that breaks up the quiet.
Somehow I'm picturing the safety dance. I don't know why.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because it's kind of like a Pied Piper video type of thing, and it
actually works really
away.
good. It actually works really good.
Just put that on loop.
Yeah, I didn't. Not sure my friends that Men Without Hats would appreciate my
I love
my choice of their music, but anything that. But just remember, right now, every critter in the world is looking for a nest.
Yeah,
if you give them an opening, they're moving in.
Right. Okay.
We want them to move out.
Well, I'm luckily we'll have a follow-up report because she's going to tell me how this this battle was going.
But an exterminator is really, really needed with that kind of infestation.
And we don't have to unpack this too because we talk about this literally almost every week, Alan. But we should say, okay, all of that expansion and contraction that's happening in there, it's happening to all the woodwork in your house, and that can create drafts. It can separate. If you have some door trim that is expanded and contracted and broke the caulking seal, I hate to say it, there's going to be drafts. So
there will.
Go through, check the health of your woodwork, especially around windows and exterior doors, and make sure that they're sealed up. But there's nothing to play games with. But if you're going to leave a house empty, be responsible and do the right thing because you're gonna pay for it later. If you don't.
Somebody is.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. I think that was some pretty sound advice, and I don't know that we ruined anybody's breakfast, but let's shift gears. Oh, let's shift gears. There we go.
Oh, the humanity. I need to wait to not ruin someone's breakfast.
Yeah. Are you awake over there, Max? Okay. Well, we're gonna find out what Allan did this week, which seems another positive week. You're on a real roll, man.
Well, I will say this for my neighbor. Your sheep are absolutely adorable.
Okay, that sounds like inside.
Up.
Okay.
Yeah, they
you had
showed
sheep
up
on the job?
it was one of those, my assistant calls me, he goes, you got to come back here, man. Walk back there, and, as I walked around the corner, this goat pops up. And he's like, hey, how you doing? We're not back here eating the garden or anything like that. Not at all.
Yeah.
So, the neighbor had to come get his sheep and his goats.
Boy.
But they were adorable. The biggest thing is we're getting ready to put in a monster shower.
Really?
Yeah, we're getting ready to put in, the toilet, the double vanities, the amazing wall of electricity, and a full walk-in gradient floor shower.
What is with showers these days? It's fine, but I've seen showers. They're as big as they're like as big as a room now. You walk in.
I am building one
two
the size
shower
of a room.
heads,
Yes.
one blasting thing that comes out of the middle, one, a drain in the middle of the floor. It's cool, but wow.
Well, the shower is basically our standard method of cleaning these days. And, for certain people, the shower is a big luxury item in the home. Just bluntly.
Yeah. Well, they have steam features. You can turn it into a sauna. You can do whatever you want.
This thing is totally going to rock. But and the cool thing is, because it's a fresh build, I'm not having to solve anybody's problems with this. No sheetrock or anything. So I nixed all of the designer's ideas. And rolled in with Hardy Board.
Okay.
And that is a great place to start, but it has some caveats.
Of course. So, okay, well, we're going to unpack the drama of this Hardy Board shower when we come back. Well, hour one of Tool Talk Radio is in the can, but stay tuned. We have a lot coming up in the second hour.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we've been in the middle of Allan's Week in Review, which is another exciting one. And you are building, I saw some pictures. He's in the middle of building, among other things. You've been building essentially a house, right? I mean,
pretty much like from scratch.
An addition, but it includes building a kitchen, which we heard about that a couple weeks ago. But now you're moving into the bathroom, and you're talking about a walk-in shower that, this is the size of like a good walk-in closet or something. This is big.
Yeah, walk-in, roll-in shower.
It's almost like its own room.
It is.
And that's a trend today. There's a lot of showers. They're gigantic because you can, like I said, you can have a steam feature. You can have you have all these spray attachments. People want to go in there and relax. So it's like,
And because this particular house has its own artesian well.
Oh, wow.
This is like the full spa treatment.
Okay.
Coming into this, yes, this is on a raised floor. So we do have a crawl space underneath. So we have gone in, and there's no law against overbuilding.
Right. Yeah, I think I would double up those
If
rafters.
the code says a 4x4, I want a 4x6. The other thing we've discovered is there's a wide variety of what I like to call aqua goop. AKA ways to seal stuff and still let tile adhere to it.
Okay.
So there are a number of products out there, and this week's, my big project this week was to go in, and if water's going to touch it, it got sealed.
Yeah.
And one of the guys looked at me and was like, dude, we built this thing out of hardy board. Why are you sealing it?
Well,
Because
you don't
hardy
board
board,
back there.
all right, well, hardy board won't rot like wood or sheetrock. It's not waterproof. Well, yeah, it is. You put water on it. And I'm like, no.
It's not waterproof.
Well, if you put a drop of water on it, there is an effect because of the tiny little fiber sticking out of it. A droplet of water will sit there and bead up. Eventually, it will absorb into it. If it gets rained on or wet enough, it will actually permeate the concrete and soak through. And that brings up the worst thing, and I'm going to tie this to our earlier conversation about having your house closed up, black mold.
Right. I mean, mold, it's giving ants a way to...
Do not let water get out of the bathroom.
Yep.
The only way water leaves the bathroom is through the prescribed routes, not anything it comes up with.
Right, exactly.
So we got in there and got all of that nice and sealed. And I will say this about tile sealant it does not like to be brushed, and it really doesn't even like to be, treated like wall mud. It is somewhere in between paint and Nickelodeon slime. And wear some gloves. Otherwise, you're going to be picking that stuff off your skin for about 3 days.
Right.
But, we got it all nice and sealed up. So now we're ready to drop next week we'll be dropping in the floor, and the tile has already been delivered. So we're getting ready to roll in, but we're rolling in, and they're putting in some big tile. So next week, I will be talking about installing 2x3 sheets of tile in a single tile.
Boy, now that's its own challenge.
That
man.
is,
holy smokes.
I'm looking forward to it, but yeah, you're right. It is definitely a holy smokes.
Well, and I think when this whole thing's done, you might have to do a video of this.
We're going to do a walkthrough.
Do the whole. Okay. All right. Well, so far, man, this sounds like a great project. And so Allan's Week in Review continues to be inspiring and positive.
Yeah, so far, except for the closet that collapsed, but it's not too bad.
Okay. Well then, well that sounds pretty good. So, all right. Well, I don't know if this is going to be inspiring or positive or not, but we're going to change gears here. So,
looks like a loose nail.
Yeah, 1 out of 25 ain't bad.
You don't have any code violations, do you?
Nope.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
What do you think of the house that Love built? Oh, shoot.
I don't know, Max. I think we need to tighten up your little rejoiners here. But
all I know is that sounded like the closet Allan apparently failed in.
Okay.
Yeah. We had to rebuild that, baby.
Okay. Now that we got 3 minutes left here, but no. So in today's discussion of design flaws, you and I don't know that we're disagreeing on this, but anyway, we're going to talk about terracotta drain pipes, which terracotta, terracotta is a remarkably, in the right context, a very resilient material. We still have terracotta that is centuries old.
I was thinking of those Chinese warriors, the terracotta warriors.
Right. And so terracotta, we all know what it is, I believe. It's like a hardened clay and
it
everything.
It is baked clay. You are correct.
We have drain pipes here in the city of Memphis that are made of terracotta.
Yes.
Which I don't know why that seems. I mean, I think our drain pipes are made of steel at my house. I don't know, but I don't think this is a good idea. But
all right. Well, you're getting to look at history through 2020 retrovision.
Well, that's true. You got to look at where they were at the time.
What do we get? How do we get from A to Z? Of originally, of. Do you know where the word hello came from?
Oh, no, I don't.
Look out below.
Look out below.
Do you know why men walk to the outside and the woman walks to the inside of the building?
Yeah, because I listened to this show. And
yeah,
you've
and
told
people
us
used to
numerous
throw
times.
the potty out the window.
Right.
Hello,
so if you're a
look out
gentleman
below.
on a date,
And you were the gentleman and you took the splash.
I was just thinking, how many people's lives, how many people's night out got ruined because somebody threw their chamber pot out the window after you're all decked out, ready to go.
That's why you wore a cape and a hood.
Okay.
So, all right.
So we got to get rid of the bad
Our original sewer system was the street.
Yeah.
Memphis is early in having sewers.
Mm-hmm.
And originally sewers were just basically ditches that wound up being lined with something. The Romans figured this out, 2,000 years ago, and they lined them with stone and cement. And now we get up to post-Civil War, and we're now getting into homes, and we're getting into a point where density is enough that we really can't just have sewage tanks. We can't have septic tanks floating
you
around
have
everywhere.
something that goes underground. That goes
And now we began looking for the right materials. And terracotta turned out to be pretty doggone durable.
Was it also because it's probably affordable to make? Is that
and
part of
it's
it?
not that hard to make.
Yeah.
And, so it wasn't terrible to set up a terracotta plant. And clay is fairly available. So off we go. Terracotta has a couple of drawbacks. One is that it's a fitted system. It's not really sealed.
Mm-hmm.
You can pack it full of mud or pack or clay or whatever, but you still basically have a seam that can leak. And once again, you and I talk about how the world is not stable. The world moves. Earth moves. That hill slides. Things shift. Terracotta doesn't like to shift.
Yeah, and tree roots will grow up.
And heaven help you, tree roots will find a way.
Yeah.
So terracotta was an amazing system. And then we got into metal. And, here comes the metal. The metal solves the connection problem. But metals rust and age. Mm-hmm. And we are now in the PVC age.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to move into PVC's second cousin. We're kind of moving towards the poly age where we're going to be in PEX.
Right.
So we're kind of moving technologies. But oddly, we have all of these technologies present in Memphis, Tennessee right now today.
Well, I was going to say, if you're somebody that your business is to, if you're a plumber, but also if your business is to replace drainage lines and everything or to repair, you got to be ready. You got to be well-versed in all of those. You might, because there's nothing saying that a PVC or a steel pipe can't crack too. I mean, they can get damaged. Somebody could drill through it. Somebody could, But I feel like terracotta was especially vulnerable because what if you're on the job site and you're connecting the terracotta drain pipe and you drop it? Well, and you're
Worse.
like, I don't have enough I'm just going to go ahead and put this in anyway. And now you've got a breach underground.
The worst thing was somebody dropping a hammer.
Yeah. Or drop it. They chip the corner.
Yep.
There's that little vulnerable spot, and now a tree root finds that, and now you're getting a sinkhole, and now you're getting, I don't know.
Again, but terracotta at its time, in its heyday, was the best idea we'd had to date.
Right.
But we've now, over the last 100 years, we've moved past terracotta, and there are better options. But there are people in older cities all around the country, or actually all around the world, that are now confronting, wow, my drain's backed up again.
Yeah.
I have a question. With regards to the future of plumbing technology, do you think they'll have carbon fiber plumbing material? Kind of like how we have like PVC, because I'm thinking of material where objects are less likely to like collate in like concrete, kind of like plaque on an artery and a heart and everything. Like, I'm just trying to think of if there are materials like that in the future that are on the way.
They are here now.
Oh.
Yeah.
They are already here. Welcome to PEX.
Yeah.
Welcome to new technologies arising all the time.
Yeah, because when you think of drainage, drain lines from your home, you don't think of a lot of flexibility there. But PVC even it really isn't super flexible. It's got more flexibility than than the steel or the terracotta. But I don't know. Flexibility may be the answer for drainage down the road.
Well, technology is constantly moving forward.
Okay. All right. Hey, coming up, we got a lot. And I don't want to tease it because I'm trying to decide what we're going to get to. Stay tuned, everybody.
Okay.
We're coming back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Ow! Those gears down there really hurt.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And as we want to remind you, Tool Talk Radio is also brought to you by our good friends over at Groundworks. We're going to talk about, what do you think of this, Allan? I don't want to tease it yet. I have something interesting. I have an interesting question to pose to the panel and to our listeners in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to talk about our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling. We talked about him briefly earlier, but full disclosure, folks, Jay was supposed to come in here today. He got busy because he got 2 emergency calls last night that he's responding to this morning, and that's the way Jay operates. I mean, when if you have a roofing or if you have problems with the outside of your home, you can't wait. But Jay Hill is all about the exterior protection of your home, from roofing to gutters to siding to windows, and all interior and exterior remodeling except kitchens and bathrooms. He doesn't want any part of that shower that you're working on, Al. No, he has a very specialized set of the work that he likes to do, and that's what he does. But we always lean heavily into his roofing expertise because, well, for one thing, Jay is always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau, which is not an easy thing to do. I was thinking of poor Susie a couple weeks ago with the issue she had with that contractor and everything. But, he's one of the top-rated roofers in this entire region, and with good reason, because, for one thing, he's a GAF Master Elite installer. And that is no small thing, because GAF, they create roofing systems, and these roofing systems are so effective and so so well engineered that they offer a lifetime transferable warranty on all of their roofing systems. And also another thing that sets Jay apart, besides his very optimistic and besides the optimism and energy that he brings to every job, is the fact that he's a former insurance agent, which is related to the 2 calls he got last night. Because if you have damage to the outside of your home, and especially your roof, it's always a tricky process to navigate the claims process, because really you need an advocate. So if you suspect that you have damage to the outside of your home, that you may have to make a homeowner's claim, Jay should really be the first person you call, because he's going to come out. It'll be a free consultation, and he's going to let you know if you have a path forward with that. And if you do, it's going to save you all sorts of money, and it takes a really daunting problem and it turns it into an exciting prospect of getting it fixed and getting it done correctly. So we love the whole business culture that Jay has created with Big M Roofing and Remodeling, and he also encourages you to call him directly. So get in touch with Jay. You can call him at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. All right, well, I have a question to pose to the panel and to the listeners, Allan, and so and maybe it's tell me what you think of this. A clean, well-organized, and functioning home can improve your health and extend your lifespan. Here's the jumping-off point. I can see you, wondering about. Okay, well, I was talking to my wife because she does personal training. She's a yoga,
right?
So she's pretty well in tune with how our bodies work and everything. Well, she told me that you should think of your heart kind of like a car engine. Okay, so we know that when it comes to driving your car, it's not always about how many miles are on the car. It's how many RPMs the car hit. Like, in other words, if you drive a car and you're revving the engine at 4,000 RPMs, even if you're going 30 miles an hour, you're wearing that engine out faster. Okay. Well, with the same mindset, if you have things, if your heart is beating faster than it really should, I guess there's a limited amount of beats you get per lifetime. Like, each heart is going to beat a certain amount of times per life. Well, here's my point, and this is my own logic, so maybe this proposition is a little out there, but here's what I was thinking. Okay, how many things do we have in our home that are a constant annoyance?
Mm-hmm.
You walk in and you have to walk around that one couch because the leg of it sticks out, and you're constantly hitting your foot on it.
Right.
Or so the feng shui is bad. Or how many of these how many of these daily irritants do you have, or these daily challenges that if you just took the time to fix it or to clean it,
like your mother-in-law?
Well, okay, thanks, Matt. That wasn't that good, Max. Okay, anyway, but you know what I mean. So in other words, it's not only that, but it's things that can make your heart race. Like, what if your house is very dusty? What if the air quality is poor? What if you have microplastics that are getting into the I guess what I was thinking is things that accelerate your heart rate and cause stress can shorten your lifespan. And if you have a clean, well-functioning home because you spend a lot of your life at your home, would that extend your lifespan, basically?
Well, you're dancing on several different topics there.
Okay.
I'm going to pick on a friend of mine that lived a little north of Nashville.
Okay.
And she was having a variety of HVAC issues. And because she was a little north of Nashville, up there in the Piedmont area, I suggested that she go get a CO2 test and a radon test.
Okay. Yeah,
Because
because you said radon's big in Nashville.
She has any place that's mountainous or anything like that. I mean, you just need to know your area. And she has an over and under, which means part of her house is subterranean, part of the house is above grade. So we did the CO2 test, and we actually discovered a puncture in her heat exchanger in her heating system. So
that's a big deal.
A very big deal, a relatively simple fix. But that prevented them from going through an entire winter with a heater leaking carbon monoxide into the home.
There you go.
The thing that was the most shocking, and it wasn't it was a pinhole. It was easy to fix. Nobody was ever in any danger. So if anybody's listening, don't freak out about that one. The one that was the shocker was that how well insulated their house was, that downstairs was like 4 times the recommended radon level.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So they actually had to change the airflow of their house to make sure they did not have a radon gas buildup in the basement, basically.
That's what it is, right? It's just a buildup of gases because there's
that
stagnant
natural
air stuff.
This is a natural process of the earth. It is a radioactive decay. But, so are there invisible forces that could be at work in your home that affect your health and well-being? Yes. The EPA, starting back in the 70s, began doing studies of the air pollution levels, interior and exterior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We live in Memphis. We live at the edge of basically the Delta. So around Memphis is fairly flat.
Right.
It's not totally flat, but we don't have mountains in Memphis. We don't have really big hills. We got a few bluffs here and there, but nothing of any great notice. So airflow over and around and through Memphis is pretty stable.
Yeah.
But you have other parts of the country, we'll pick on like LA, or even pick on Chattanooga, where they are in bowls. The surrounding area is higher than they are, so air has a tendency to stay down there with you.
That's where the smog used to just congregate.
That's happened to a lot of major cities.
I was also thinking in terms of major cities like Mexico City. Isn't that?
Yeah.
They have that major problem too.
Yep, they're having that problem. But
it is
then
like a bowl. You see it. You drive in from the hills, and you're like, yep.
Our homes are now so well insulated that you could also begin developing a air pollution problem in the home, not outside the home.
Yeah. I have one or two more points to make about that. And then in our history of great building materials, we are going to talk about the mother of all building materials, wood.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Oh, I steal things all the time. It's just something I do. I stopped carrying a long time ago. You should see how many supplies I've taken from this place. Honestly, I love stealing things.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
You're a weirdo, Max. Jeez. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here's my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and the Creed-obsessed Max behind the glass. You sure love that guy.
He's probably my favorite Office character.
I guess so. Hey, if you're just tuning in, so I put forth the proposition, and I have to, in full disclosure, this came to me, my wife and I were talking, and this was kind of her idea, so I want to give her credit, but we were talking about, well, basically, can a clean, well-organized, functioning home actually improve your health and extend your lifespan? Well, it definitely improves your health because, as we've been discussing, clean air is just, breathing in clean air is just as important as eating healthy food and, drinking plenty of water and everything. So, because we're putting that air into our bodies, and if the air is not healthy, due to many things, radon leaks, dust, badly
pet dander,
and microplastics are a real thing because even carpeting can have microplastics in it. If it's
right. Well, I'm going to ruin your breakfast, Joe.
Yeah.
You ever thrown away a mattress?
Oh, well, we know the whole thing of what a mattress is all about. So, yeah.
Well, not everybody does. Let me spoil this for you. Your home is full of millions of little creatures that eat you.
Yeah.
When you throw away a mattress weighs more going to the trash than when you bought it. Why? You.
Yeah.
And dust mites.
Right.
So your home, I don't care how clean you are or what you do, your home is utterly infested in dust mites.
Now, I want to throw something at you because my sort of jumping off point for this was I was comparing the amount of heartbeats that a person has in their lifetime to the amount of RPMs that a car had, rounds per minute, because the more you rev the engine, the more you're wearing out the engine. Well, and I was saying that through daily annoyances and things about your home that are constantly, maybe you don't even perceive what that's doing to your heart rate or what that's doing to your blood pressure, but constant things that are a hassle. And I would even include bad lighting in that. I feel like it's playing a role. And when you flip the script and you say, well, if you have clean air and you have good lighting and you have relaxing ambiance and it's well insulated and you have just a peaceful home, I have to believe that's helping your heartbeat and everything.
I have the perfect example to go with that.
Talk to me.
Of working with a friend of mine earlier in the week, they had a tool that Dad had given her, and she was utterly intimidated by it.
Right.
And I looked at her and I was kind of like, all right, look, this is how it works. You do this, you do that. Ooh, here you go. That's how it works. Oh, well, that's easy. Yeah. So why aren't you using it? Well, I was scared of it. And I was like, okay, well, if you've never used it before, that's
true.
A perfectly valid.
Yeah.
Perfectly valid. But now that you can use this, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got like 20 projects to get off my back porch.
There you go.
And I'm like, so you've been stuck at this one point. And so I'm going to add one thing to what you're saying. I'm going to say 90% of what's holding you back from doing something around your home is not the knowledge to do it, because the knowledge is available.
Yeah.
You can listen to us. You can send us a text. You can ask us questions. You can go to tooltalkradio.com.
Yeah.
You can go to YouTube. So it's available. 90% of it is having the audacity to try it.
Right. Take that toilet out. Put the new one in,
You've always hated great-grandma's lamp. Well, fine. You know what? There is a thrift store somewhere that will love that lamp.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of some of this stuff and do what you want to do. And I agree with you, Joe. Lighting, OMG. You and I both know just basically moving a lamp can totally change a room.
I know she wasn't necessarily the best interior decorator and everything, but Mother Teresa had a good quote. She said, "Live simply so that others may simply live."
Well, you talk about a minimalist, yeah. So, well, now she wasn't distracted by her surroundings because I happen to know that all of those nuns in Mother Teresa's orders, they had to be able to move anywhere in the world with it and be packed within 30 minutes.
Yeah, pack a bag. Let's go.
Throw your clothes in there, grab your,
Right.
they didn't own much. So,
See, Joe, my minimalism isn't as extreme or crazy as you might think. It has validity.
Max isn't far off of the Mother Teresa model.
I'm going to tell you, yes, it is. Yes, it is, Max.
But also, before we move on, I just want to say one more thing about that, because I also think the flip side of that is, for example, we were cleaning our garage. We just got sick of it. We're like, and we purged, man. We got rid of some serious stuff.
Yeah.
And for one thing, you get those natural endorphins. I'm telling you, man, I felt smarter, like more creative. It gives, suddenly you're looking at all this potential space, and you're moving your body, you're exercising, and that's good for the soul. That's good for your mind and your health. So
just plain organization.
Right.
And I got to tell you, just, one of those little tape label machines.
Yeah.
They sell them at any of the office supply stores where you can label stuff.
Yep.
Oh, my God. I cannot overstate how much that can save your life. Just box it up and label it.
So that's our premise,
Boom.
and if you've got thoughts about that, get in touch with us and let us know. But I thought that was actually a worthy conversation to have. So, all right, well let's shift gears once again, you guys.
And now, great moments in building history.
Now, this is a subset of great moments in building history. If you're just tuning in, and if you haven't heard the show in a few weeks, as a subset of great moments in building history, we're doing sort of a series of the history of great building materials. And so far, we've talked about steel, we've talked about tempered glass, we've talked about any number of things. And today we're going to talk about one that seems very obvious, which is wood. Although all woods obviously are not created equal, but let's look a little deeper at wood. And Allan, you're more of the scientist and more of the person that knows about these things, but there are chemical properties, there are structural properties to wood that it is just a great building material, and you can grow it. It's renewable.
Well, it is the basic, outside of digging a hole. Yeah. The next part of construction is, what do you put in it to hold it steady? You put wood. Mm-hmm. Wood has always been our best and most reliable building material.
And no two pieces of wood are ever the same. Like, every piece of wood has a story, and they have their own personality. It's like a person. Maybe that's why we connect with it so much, is everyone is unique. So,
because my premise for this whole discussion was how wood almost becomes a national identity for certain nations. Like, there are certain woods that only grow on particular continents or in particular countries, for example, like in Africa or like in Japan, how they have the biwa tree that's particularly hardy for making certain materials. Or in America, the redwoods, the mighty redwoods.
Mm-hmm. And there's some trees that really I don't want to call them indestructible, but there's some trees, they'll last years. Centuries.
The Methuselah trees.
Right.
Well, we're also talking like ironwood, teak, loblolly pine that have different capabilities. All right, so let's just define what is wood.
Okay.
Wood is 3 basic products. Cellulose, which is basically plant material, the cell wall of plant material. You have hemicellulose, which is the binder that keeps the cells together.
Is that sap? Or is that
no? The sap is more like blood.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what's moving materials around. So we have a cell. So we have cell walls, and that's cellulose. And cellulose is any plant, whether we're talking celery or redwoods.
Okay.
Hemicellulose is that first stage towards, we're not a slime mold. We're not an algae. We actually have shape and form.
Mm-hmm.
So hemicellulose is more the form of a good plant,
Right.
how it gets there. Then you get into lignin, and this is rigidity. Now we're talking trees.
Right. Because
So-
trees are flexible but rigid at the same time.
Exactly. So it takes these three things to bring a tree into existence because, like anything else, we're talking like the grass in your yard. The grass in your yard has got plenty of cellulose and plenty of hemicellulose, and it makes it into grass. Now, we add a little lignin, and suddenly that grass can become a bamboo.
Okay.
Now, is a bamboo a tree? I don't know. It can be 40 feet tall.
It looks
And
like a tree.
You
but
know,
yeah.
when you get to different varieties of bamboo, some of them are solid, some of them are hollow. It's got rigidity, it's got resistance to compression, and now we get into the 1% that makes everybody different, and that's just what they call the other compounds or extractives.
Extractives. Okay.
Extractives are things like, well, our favorite extractive in the entire world is maple syrup.
Yeah.
It's our favorite. That is.
Well, I don't know though because rubber comes out of trees, right? That's
rubber
not a bad
comes out
one.
of trees. That's an extractive.
But maple syrup is pretty.
I just figured maple syrup was the easiest one. Everybody would immediately know and go, "Oh yeah, you can't get that out of a tree. That's where it comes from. Comes out of a maple tree." So, welcome to woods. Now, the faster a wood grows, basically, the softer the wood is.
That's what I was going to get to because
not 100%, but why? Well, I got you a really weird question. Why is the Stradivarius violin so good?
I guess it has to do with the wood.
Exactly.
There you go.
They had a volcanic winter for a couple of years that made the trees grow very slowly and very, very dense.
That was going to be my question. When you say growing slowly, you're talking about like, are we cutting them down too soon? Are we not letting them mature enough, or do they just grow at
we've
an
changed the
accelerated rate?
conditions.
Okay.
So in an old growth forest, so let's go pick on Max's redwoods here.
Yeah.
Those redwoods live not for 20 years, not for 50 years, but for hundreds.
Right. So there's a lot of factors that go into
a
having
lot
good
going
lumber
on.
because the lumber in our older homes is different than the lumber today.
Very different.
We're going to talk about that when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Lisa and I built your room.
But I don't like this clown.
I wouldn't take it down if I were you. It's a load-bearing poster.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
All right, I'll give that one an 8 out of 10. That wasn't bad, Max. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we're actually celebrating wood in our history of great building materials. Wood is, it sounds obvious, but we don't overlook the obvious,
Our buddy Norman actually has a little comment on the line with regards to wood.
Okay.
It said, why don't you all talk about wood getting harder as it ages? Because he's pulled out dimensional wood out of 100-year-old homes. That was incredible.
Oh, yeah. Well, Norman, gosh, perfect tee up because I wanted to ask you that myself, Allan. I did have a question about that. So, because it seems to me, our house is 70-something years old, and I've had to open up the walls, and the wood is definitely denser, and it's just it's harder than the wood I pick up at the big box store today. But
not only that too, but it also thanks again to Randy in terms of in contributing more about the aging of woods.
Okay.
It's because the sap is dried, the glue is dried, and you also can't build. He's talking about older acoustic guitars. You can't build them out of Brazilian rosewood anymore. They sound better because the wood has hardened and projects better.
Ooh, so Randy's a musician. Okay. Well, anybody that makes musical instruments has my infinite respect.
Like
because,
Stradivarius.
Just think of it's not just, engineering and craftsmanship. You have to really understand the science of sound and everything. So, Yeah, that's a good one, Randy. So, I mean, there's a lot there, Alan. This is going to turn into Wood Talk Radio.
Yeah, this is good. It really is for a little bit because this is such a massive, massive topic. Real quickly, as to the aging, I'm going to throw the Douglas fir out there. Douglas firs are basically a softwood. It's a type of evergreen. However, as it dries and ages, all of the rosins in it harden.
That
so
makes
think
sense,
like amber. You know, they really harden. And as the cells shrink, that wood actually becomes more and more compact over time. So long as it's not exposed to decay, the older the Douglas fir gets, the harder and more compact that wood becomes.
Question. Because you've told me this many times when we talk about cement drying. You said what it's actually doing is curing. Although, let's face it, it's also losing humidity. So it's drying and curing, I think. Well, is wood, we know it's curing. I'm sure sap takes a long time to dry and cure,
especially in this case. Yeah.
But when you talk about compressing and I'm picturing a curing process. Is that what's going on with wood? Is it?
Well, especially in the case of any of your softwoods, any of your pines, firs, and that rosin does undergo a curing process in the presence of oxygen after the tree is no longer living.
Okay.
So, but you also have desiccation. I know, my favorite word.
Desiccation.
Desiccation.
For those that have a fuzzy radio. Yeah.
It is the removal of moisture over time. And so we're building the house. We put the roof on it. We've got the floor underneath us. And we're now protecting the wood structure from moisture. It's going to continue to lose moisture. And as it loses moisture, it will contract. It will get smaller, tighter, and harder. So you'll hear people talk about that barn was made out of ironwood.
Yeah.
You can barely get a nail in it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a 50, 60, 100-year-old barn. And again, protected from rot, protected from decay. That wood really is harder and much more compressed than what you're going to find at the big box store.
Yeah.
The other thing that affects, we're going to stay with good old yellow pine. A yellow pine you buy today was farmed, which means that tree was grown with the optimum effect at growth.
What does that mean?
That means there's no oak tree hanging over the top of it.
Oh, it had full sun.
It is properly spaced. It's properly distanced. It's
good
been
soil.
Farmed.
Yeah.
And it was given every possible opportunity to be all the yellow pine it can be, and in the modern world, as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Which means it's not going through some of the restrictive cycles an old growth forest would have gone through.
So does that mean by that logic that things that were created in ancient times with their woods would have actually been maybe not as good, but because they've had the virtue of time to remain, they got better?
So it could age and well, when you say that, Max, I'm mostly thinking of what Randy was talking about with a musical instrument, where you have a violin that is 100 years old. It's going to sound different than it would when they made it.
We just
right?
keep triggering people on the text line
Now
with
what?
their instruments. These people love their instruments. Thank you, I'm going to call her 1610.
Okay.
Good tone wood for violins, maple and spruce needs many years of equal periods of growth, making the annual rings uniform. The same for guitars.
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's funny what a role the wood plays in all this.
And that is why there will never be another true Stradivarius equivalent violin, because of very unique features all went into the creation of what we now regard as the gold standard for a musical instrument.
Because you said it was the nature of the conditions of where that particular batch of wood grew
and the time it was harvested,
right.
how it was harvested, how it was treated, how it went through the process of becoming the violin.
Okay, I got more. We are going to have to carry this over now, because here's the thing.
This is a great topic.
My wife is an expert when it comes to skincare and makeup and all that stuff. And the more she tells me about it, the more it sounds exactly like the way I stain and finish furniture. Like it's the same. You got to exfoliate. Well, you got to sand. You got to put a base coat. You got to put a that type of thing. Well, by virtue of that, I'm just thinking. I'm really thinking of these musical instruments. There, you have to put a wax on. You have to oil things. You have to, you know what I mean, to maintain the wood and to maintain its integrity. And there's all sorts of chemical reactions going on when you're doing that.
So let's take something like an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
You can't just roll down to the big box store and buy you a sheet of something and then slice it and make a guitar that is going to be of quality.
Yeah.
Because you're just not getting, you're getting something being raised for lumber, not being raised for performance.
Allan, we're going to have to put a pin in this because I think, and folks, this gives us a week. We're going to continue this. We're going to carry this over because wood is a pretty rich topic.
Get us your questions and send us your comments because this is a big one.
Yeah. Now you're getting me excited thinking about instruments because I'm thinking of like Steinway and Sons pianos and everything because that's a whole other art too.
Yeah, wait till they bring up martial arts weapons.
Ooh,
yeah,
hello.
Yeah, wood is going to be a pretty good one, but not now. We're out of time, you guys. But thanks for all the everybody chiming in on the text line, and we'll continue it.
Continue to contribute your good ideas while we're still in International Ideas Month. Please do text us on the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline.
901-683-0989. Tool Talk Radio is over. We got to go.